Welcome to Couch Quarterbacks. What's going on, you guys, and welcome to part 2 of episode number 6 of our NFL mock draft that will be going on this upcoming Thursday. I'm Andrew Rochford. With me is Ben Steinberg, and if you guys missed part 1, picks 1 through 16, go check in the description below. We'll have part 1 link there. Should be able to easily find that on our page, the first part of this mock draft. So here's part 2. We're going to pick up with pick number 17, get the back half of this mock draft going. And Stein, it's going to be kind of a crapshoot of what goes on in the back half of the first round. A lot of the guys will get drafted, but in terms of where they go, what teams they go to, could be up in the air.
Yeah, there's like we were saying earlier in part 1, that this part's kind of just like all the good offensive guys have been taken, and all these teams really don't have that big of needs. They just need some kind of I guess a new guy in a new position to just take over. And there's I see some gems throughout these picks. I think this is where a lot of the busts are. This is where we've been usually as Falcons fans, so it's definitely going to be interesting.
That's what just taking a sorry, Stein, but just taking a glimpse,
yeah.
just taking a glimpse of the back half of this mock draft that we've got here. It's going to be a lot of edge rushers, couple of linebackers going, some wide receivers going in the back half of this.
Receivers, and our first running back as well.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot more defensive guys compared to the top half of the draft, where our first defensive guy coming off the board was at number 10. So without further ado, let's hop back in. At the number 17 overall pick is owned by the Las Vegas Raiders, and we've got them helping out Derek Carr and that offensive line by getting Christian Darrisaw, the offensive tackle, out of Virginia Tech. A couple different directions that they could go, but offensive line is one of their biggest needs. He'll be able to replace the free agent Trent Brown, who started at left tackle last season.
Yeah, they just need some help. Carr's still a good option for them, and I think they need to stick with him. Christian Darrisaw, we've seen the top 2 tackles already taken. Darrisaw is probably the third best guy. So go ahead and take the best guy available. He's not the guy you want, but he's the guy you can live with.
Yeah, exactly. We'll just hop into the number 18 overall pick with the Miami Dolphins taking their second pick in this first round. Obviously, with the number 6 overall pick, they took Jamar Chase. And now with the number 18 overall pick, they're going to shore up that defense. And they're going to get Jeremiah Owusu Koramoah, the linebacker out of Notre Dame. Stein, I want you to write that out and try and spell that correctly.
Yeah, no way I can do that. They took offense first pick of their first round pick. Their second first round pick, they can go on the defensive side. Offensive line could also be an option too. There's still some good offensive line guys. If Darrisaw doesn't go, they could also take Jenkins from Oklahoma State. But Koramoah is a guy that they can, big game experience at Notre Dame, can help that defense. It's a pretty good defense. They just could use just a little another spark plug. This very similar to Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah,
just a little bit smaller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's what because a lot of the knocks on him was that kind of similar to Parsons, where he's a little bit undersized for a linebacker, and what it reminded me a lot of was Isaiah Simmons. Yeah. Obviously, what was it, last year when he was drafted by the Cardinals? Mm-hmm. Kind of a mixture between a safety and a linebacker in terms of his size. So it's a guy that could just be kind of playing all over the field and just try and use that. Speed, versatility, still a very physical guy, so just kind of run him sideline to sideline, just have him out there in the middle of the field trying to get guys down. But just another pick for the Dolphins just to shore up and at least provide some depth with that defense.
Like I said, offensive line could help too, because they still need that long-term, Tunsil replacement.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to number 19 is a team that I think is in an interesting position because their defense is stacked,
especially when you talk about their front 4, front 7.
Yeah, so literally nothing they need there, and that the 19th team is the Washington football team, and I think they're going to have to focus on their offense in some way or some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, this is a team that we've mentioned that could try and trade up. They signed Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's going to be the quarterback for the time being, but could try and
Still have
trade up.
Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, could try and trade up into the top 10 to get that quarterback of the future. They could end up getting a wide receiver to help out with Terry McLaurin. They did sign Curtis Samuel, but I've got them shoring up that offensive line, and they get Tevin Jenkins, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma State. Now, we're filming this on Tuesday, they did make a trade for Eric Flowers, who was on the team in 2019.
Yeah.
He made the transition from tackle to guard. Will be competing with the old Falcon Wes Schweitzer for a guard position. So I think they'll end up still going offensive line, get a tackle, and that's, like I said, Tevin Jenkins out of Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I do. Eric Flowers is not a great offensive lineman. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of an overrated guy. He's gotten better, but not a long term answer. So they can help the offensive line, help Fitzpatrick, so they can make get guys experience for their next quarterback because they're definitely going to be in the market for the quarterback within the next 2 or 3 years. Number 20, speaking of teams in the market for a quarterback, we have the Chicago Bears, who have the biggest need but are in the worst place
Yeah,
for
yeah.
it.
They sign Andy Dalton. They go away from Mitch Trubisky. They sign Andy Dalton. A lot of people giving
Making
them
fun of that.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say give them a lot of shit for that, but definitely need quarterback. They made the playoffs last season, so that's why they got the number 20th overall pick. Eh, We mentioned in part one, it's going to take a king's ransom for them to try and trade into the top 10 if they want to go all the way up to the top five. We were talking about it with the Falcons with the number four overall pick. So if they trade up, it might be closer into like the early tens, late teens, something like that. But if they end up staying put, instead of going with quarterbacks since they're all going to be gone, also helping out the offense with getting Elijah Moore, the wide receiver out of Ole
Well, I think
Miss.
it's probably the most underrated wide receiver in the top in the of the top receivers. I think Moore is very akin, obviously coming from Old Miss to a guy like AJ Brown or even DK.
Yeah, so that's what you have. You have your top tier of wide receivers where you've got the two
Waddle,
Alabama
yeah,
guys.
Waddle, Chase, Smith, and
hmm
yeah,
And then you start off the second tier. You've got Elijah Moore, you've got Rashad Bateman, you've got Kadarius Toney, who's the gadget type player.
yeah.
So they have a bunch of different options in terms of who they think is the most valuable out of this second tier of wide receivers. I think Elijah Moore is one of the better guys of this top tier or of the second tier of receivers. The Bears, they have Allen Robinson under the franchise tag, so you've got him for at least one more season.
Anthony Miller
There's been
is
talks of him
yeah.
getting traded. Really hasn't turned out to be the guy that they thought he was when he was drafted. They do like Darnell Mooney, the guy they got later on in last year's draft. So hopefully they'll be able to find another offensive weapon in the first round of this draft.
Yeah,
Um,
not someone that punches people.
yeah, yeah, like Javon Wims was. They could go for offensive linemen, but I've seen Tevin Jenkins, who we have going to Washington, going to them at 20. But obviously, if
Yeah,
he's not on the board, can't go after him. There's not really another offensive lineman that I think is deserving of that pick if they're not able to get Jenkins. So
and there's not really a quarterback,
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So they're gonna have to look for a quarterback or offensive lineman on day two or day three. Right now, we got him going with the wide receiver and Elijah Moore.
staying within the that Great Lakes region, let's move over to Indianapolis at 21. A team that has a great defense, great running game, got a new quarterback in
Mm-hmm.
Carson Wentz. It begs the question: do they get Wentz a weapon? Do they bolster that defense? And I think when it's all said and done, there's really no room for weapon. They don't need to protect Wentz as a long term investment. So why not improve that defense and getting Quiddy Paye?
Yeah, so the first edge rusher is off the board. We talked about how this was a weak edge
Yeah,
rusher
Quiddy
class.
Paye as people. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Quiddy Pay. There you go, Stein.
Paye Paye.
The phonics, but so the top edge rushers, you got Pay, you got Jalen Phillips, Greg Russo, Jason Owe. Uh, I was listening to something yesterday on the radio, or I was reading something, just looking at some of the mock draft, doing my prep, and they said that if you ask 10 different general managers who they thought were the top three edge rushers in this class, like in what order, one through three, you'd probably get 10 different answers in terms of who the best guys was.
Yeah.
This is a weaker class. There's a couple of solid options, but just a lot of question marks when it comes to some of these guys. So for the Colts, once again, they could use a couple more offensive linemen. They've got two or three great offensive linemen could always use some more depth with that position, but like I said, with Jenkins going off the board, he's really the last guy that I think they would be going after. So end up going with their edge rusher, and they have their choice of it. I've just got Kwity Paye as the best overall edge
Yeah, Michigan
rusher.
guy, not going far. It makes sense. Also, a good story. If you ever look, y'all need to look that up. The Quiddy Pay story is pretty interesting. Moving on, number 22, the Titans. One of my darling teams I like, and Greg Newsome the second, one of the best cornerbacks last year in college football, from Northwestern. I think he actually might have led the. I know last year was interesting in terms of stats, but he was one of the top guys in terms of interceptions, even though
Okay.
they played such little game, or maybe the year before. But I know there was a guy in Northwestern who was just kicking butt.
Yeah, I know that he had a great 2019, so it could have been 2019 instead of last season, but you could
Yeah,
be right on that. Uh, Once again, the Titans are a team that it seems like they could go in a lot of different directions. Could use some wide receiver help since they lost Adam Humphries, they lost Johnny Smith, just some other pass catchers that they had on the team. Corey Davis going to the Jets, so could look for a wide receiver or a tight end. But Greg Newsome, a guy that's been rising on a lot of people's draft boards. Some people have him going in front of Caleb Farley. I've seen Asante Samuel Jr. go in this with this number 22 overall pick as well. But I think just the big need is going to be that secondary because they lose Adoree Jackson, they lose Malcolm Butler,
mm-hmm.
so they end up getting that quarterback in Newsome. Just to the Titans were one of two playoff teams last season that were ranked in the bottom half in terms of points per game allowed by their defense. So I think defense is going to be more of a glaring need than that offense, and I see them going with the secondary help in Newsome.
Yeah, I was actually wrong. They had a freshman cornerback at Northwestern, Brandon Joseph, who was
Okay.
so they had
Well,
an
you got the
amazing
team right.
they had an amazing cornerback tandem at Northwestern on that good defense. Yeah, just he's a smart guy coming from Northwestern, so why not take him?
Yeah, there you go. And number 23, the New York Jets have their second pick of the first round. They got it through the Seattle Seahawks from the Jamal Adams trade. Obviously, with the number 2 overall pick, pretty much the consensus has them getting Zach Wilson. With this pick, they end up getting some defensive help and another edge rusher going off the board with Jalen Phillips out of Miami.
Yeah, they could definitely go in different directions here as well. Not a great receiver, like not a great spot for receiving at this point. They definitely could use that second pick as a little bit of something to move
They
in the
could
other
go
team.
running. They could go running back here. I
They could
mean,
also, yeah,
Tevin Coleman right now is the top running back on the team,
yeah,
who's coming off the injuries last season with San Fran. So I've seen Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, depending on which one you like more. Those two could go to the Jets here at 23.
yeah.
But I like them getting another edge rusher to team up with Carl Lawson, who they signed in free agency. Just helping get some pressure on the quarterback for this Jets defense, which has not been the Jets defense of Revis Island days back in the
Yeah,
early
no, definitely,
2010s.
definitely need some help. If they can try to copy what the Washington football team did, by building that defensive front. They had Williams from a few from 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They can just add to that. They can be in a lot better position because I like the Washington football team's model. They don't need the offense yet as long as they can build that defense and then develop the offense. So I like that pick. Moving on to 24th is a pretty obvious pick as it's come out on the news.
That's what I think. This is the most obvious late first round pick. We talked about all the
Yeah,
uncertainties in terms of this back half of the first round because you have a lot of quality guys. These are all teams that have made the playoffs last season, so only a couple needs that they actually could go after. But Najee Harris to the Pittsburgh Steelers, number 24, seems like the most obvious pick in the back
yeah.
half.
News is coming out that Harris is their guy. He should be there. It'd be James Conner was a great story. He's gone.
Yeah, he
Um,
went to the Cardinals, 3.8 yards per carry last season for the
what
Steelers,
are you gonna do with
last in
Benny
the
Snell?
NFL. Yeah, they've got like Benny Snell, Jalen Samuels, Anthony McFarland. They've got a couple of younger guys there, but I think they want that truly dominant like bell cow running back
Yeah,
that James
that's kind
Conner
of been
was for
their
a couple
that's kind of been
seasons.
their mo. Going back to Le'Veon, and even D'Angelo, Williams
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
that's a big throwback name that I
Yeah,
haven't heard in a while.
they've always had kind of a bell cow back, and Harris fits that. He can be that guy who has 20, 25 carries a game. If it's necessary. Another team, kind of like the Jets, that has another late first round is the Jacksonville Jaguars, taking at 25.
Uh,
This is where you think they could go weapon, but
Yeah, I've got them going in a different direction, and I've got them getting the first safety off the board in this draft class, and that's Trevon Mayrig. I had to look up, and I actually had to put how you pronounce
it's
his
actually
last
a
name,
German last name, I'm pretty sure.
because that's what every time I read it, because it's spelled Moehrig. I think it's Morig,
Yeah.
but it's actually Merrig. You don't even pronounce the H in it. So Trevon Merrig is going with number 25, the Jaguars' second pick in the first round. You mentioned they could also get some weapons
That's kind
for
of the classic
Trevor.
thing to do when you draft a quarterback and you have another like later first is you take a weapon.
But like I said, they have the first pick in the second round, so they could go ETN there. They could go any of those wide receivers in the second tier, like Bateman, Rondell Moore. If Kadarius Toney drops to that first pick in the second round, so they could get any of those guys with the first pick in the second round, or they could go here with the 25 pick. I've got them going with the safety, just helping out that very bad defense. I mean, we mentioned when we were talking about Trevor going to Jacksonville. This is a team that they scored the third fewest points last season. They allowed the second most points. So
Yeah,
you really can't go wrong in either side of the football for this team. But with them going offense with number one, going defense with the second first rounder.
yeah. No, that's not a bad idea. It's either going to be offense, or offensive defense, not defense, defense.
Yeah, that's what I love. Some of I got a lot of the scouting reports from NFL.com, and I love some of the like they have strengths and weaknesses, and I
Mhm.
love some of the strengths bullet points that they have because just like the adjectives and stuff that they use. So one of the bullet points that they had for Merrick, it says good size and plays with some alpha qualities,
So
Stein.
he's definitely a leader, and they're looking for a leader on their defense that they can, I guess,
they
build
they need
around.
another Jalen Ramsey out
Yeah,
there.
exactly. Next up is the Cleveland Browns at 26, and you have them taking Aziz Ojolari, a Georgia Bulldog.
Yeah, so that's the biggest need that they had is just anything on the defense. They got a couple of guys in free agency. They got Jadavian Clowney. They got Tack McKinley. But I've got them just continuing to shore up that defense from last season. Ojolari listed as a linebacker. Some people view him as an edge rusher, situational edge guy, but I think he'll be able to help out just either in the middle or as the edge rusher. I mentioned with the Tennessee pick that there's only two teams that made the playoffs that were in the bottom half in points per game allowed. Cleveland was the other team besides the Titans, so definitely something that they needed to shore up. There's a couple of defensive guys that they could go after. Zaven Collins, the linebacker out of Tulsa, could go after one of the edge guys that's still available, or if
Yeah,
one of those guys that we said already got picked
one of the
drops.
Penn State or Miami guys. Those are like the two, line schools right now. The Browns. We saw. I've seen Ojolari play. Definitely was the best player on Georgia's defense, even though he wasn't in on every down, and that's probably the biggest knock I have on him is that he's not an every down kind of player.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Cleveland is with the some of the free agency additions that they've added, they technically don't necessarily need him to be an every down guy. They could
Yeah,
have him be a rotational guy on that defense, but I think just the most glaring need for the Browns is going to be that defense. They got the two great running backs. Baker really proved himself last season. They've got the nice receiving core. They could add a wide receiver also.
yeah. Just in
OBJ
case
with the injury
OBJ. Yeah,
history.
that
Jarvis is
isn't a number one.
yeah, so they Rashard Higgins, they got him, but
Yeah, I mean, I hate this. I love they got good tight ends. I was about to say they got some good tight ends as
yeah, they got
well.
Austin Hooper, Harrison Bryant,
Yeah,
so they're pretty much shored up on offense. Defense is going to be the big need for them, and I've got them helping it out with getting Ojolari.
yeah. Number 27, the Baltimore Ravens, and this is one that I am definitely a little bit interested in because you haven't taken Rashad Bateman, a receiver. Lamar's getting another receiver, and that's been his biggest. That's what everyone's saying is they need to help out Lamar.
Yeah, everyone's saying that they need the wide receiver one. Marquise Brown, great receiver, great deep threat, not a wide receiver one. They've got the great tight end and Mark Andrews, but they just need that proven guy at the wide receiver one position. And a lot of people have Terrace Marshall going here. I don't view him as a complete. as complete a receiver as Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota. They added Sammy Watkins in free agency, but they've got Miles Boykin, Devin Duvernay. The wide receiving core is not great for
No.
Baltimore. One of the biggest things on the scouting report for Bateman says that he has some pro level hands. So nothing better than having some great hands to catch some of those awkward passes from Lamar Jackson that probably aren't going to be coming out like a true spiral.
Yeah, I like that. One thing I do love about the Ravens is they always draft SEC defenders, and a guy who I don't think has been on a guy I'm high on, but I don't think he's on a lot of people's draft boards is Dylan Moses.
Yeah,
I just
he,
see Moses as like the quintessential Alabama to the Ravens pick.
I mean, the Ravens do have another first round pick. They made that trade a couple days ago with the Chiefs. They have the 31 pick. Moses is probably going to be a round two, round three guy, so maybe use a second or third rounder on him. But I do kind of see Dylan Moses in
Yeah,
that
I don't
purple
think
for the
I don't think they'll use
Ravens.
a first. Maybe they'll use their day two or something. But Bateman to the Ravens at 27, number 28. I really like this pick you had, Andrew, and that's the Saints taking Kadarius Toney out of Florida. I like how you listed him as a wide receiver slash athlete.
Yeah, because I mean he's kind of a slot guy, but he's really a do it all kind of guy. Just use him in a bunch of different formations. And I think it could be really fun to see Taysom Hill and Tony in the same backfield for Sean Payton. I mean, I can see him just salivating, like thinking about having both those guys in the backfield at the same time.
Yeah, it's he'll be it would definitely be interesting to see him because I know he wore number 5 in college, so he gets to wear number 5 in the pros now. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see these guys. He's going to look faster, I think personally. Do I want to see the Saints get another gadgy player? No, because that always bites the Falcons in the ass. But Tony, I think it makes sense. Do I think they do it? I think they're going to need more help on their defense because they did lose some players with their cap hell that they were in.
Yeah, that's what I've seen. Asante Samuel once again go here. Greg
Asante
Newsom.
Samuel Jr. We
Yeah,
have to
sorry.
specify. Asante
uh,
Samuel's not coming out of retirement.
well, I mean, who knows? Could sign him as a free agent.
Dad
But
and son playing? Has that ever happened?
Greg Newsom, if he drops to this pick, I could see them going in that direction. Could go with a linebacker. Could go with safety if Merrick drops here. So I could see them going defense as well. But Michael Thomas, after the big injury last season, I think that they could use just another receiver for depth. Like I said, with a new quarterback, if Jameis, Taysom, whoever's the quarterback for that team next season, just get them another weapon. And I could see them going with Tony or one of these other second tier wide receivers that
Yeah.
we've mentioned already.
Yeah. Number 29, the Packers. We have them taking Zayvon Collins, who.
No first round wide receiver for you, Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, no, continue the streak of not getting him help, even though he already has Devontae Adams and decent receivers around him, but everyone, never mind. Zayvon Collins, who led, I'm pretty sure he led tackles last year, or at least the year before. Just a tackle like monster who's gonna just swallow up a bunch of, swallow up a bunch of guys. I also like Creed Humphrey in this pick,
hmm
the center out of Oklahoma, because the Packers did lose their starting center. So that's another potential pick. But Collins is a good combination of size and athleticism. You don't think that they'll take any help for Rodgers though? Try to make him happy.
Of course,
They want to mad
I
Rodgers.
was gonna say it seems like the madder that he is, maybe the better that he performs. So you end up drafting a quarterback in the first round last season with Jordan Love. I just don't see why they would go with the wider. Well, I could understand why they would go with a wide receiver here, but knowing their history in terms
Yeah.
of their first round picks, I just don't see them going after a wide receiver. Like you said, just keeping the trend going, getting maybe another Clay Matthews for
I do see
them.
this on our sheet. On one of their team needs is a punter. Are you telling me J.K. Scott is gone?
I got the team needs from Todd McShay personally, so if they, in terms of the team needs, then you could look at him because I exactly copy and pasted that from his list of stuff.
Yeah, it
So
says should the Packers draft a punter
I,
under their first
I
name?
guess J.K. Scott is in trouble
Oh
there.
dang,
I
poor
don't know if
J.K.
he's a free. I wouldn't think he's a free agent yet. How long has he been in Green Bay? Because I thought he got drafted like 2 years
2022.
ago.
It says he's up for agency 2022.
Oh well,
Is he in a
so,
contract year?
so
You
you need
they're gonna
to.
let him walk?
I would
Okay.
say so. You need some long term
Yeah, that's weird
safety
that
for a
they.
punter.
Yeah, and the Falcons. I don't even know who are Sterling Hofstadter. Can't even think of that guy.
Can't even pronounce his name. Can't even
No.
punt a ball 40 yards.
Moving on to number 30 is the Buffalo Bills.
Nobody circles the
They
wagons like the
get Gregory
Buffalo
Russo, which I
Bills.
think is a steal for them at 30.
Yeah, so Russo, once again, an edge rusher that's been just all over the first round in terms of mock drafts just throughout these past couple
Yeah,
months.
like early mock drafts had him at like top 5,
Yeah,
and that was before COVID. Now he's down to 30, and some he's in the middle. So, like you said, he's all
I've
over the
I've
place.
seen him drop down to the second round in some drafts, but another guy that opted out in 2020, so don't have film on him from last season. He only had one full season of playing in college football, so just another guy that just you don't have the tape on him, doesn't have the experience. I've seen the Bills also drafting a running back in this spot. Devin Singletary, Zach Moss didn't cut it for them last season, so ETN, Najee Harris, if the Steelers end up passing on him, could be another spot that they could go. But the Buffalo Bills, a team that made the AFC Championship last season, there's not a whole lot of holes for them. Don't need too much. A couple different spots on defense that they could go besides edge rusher, just more help up front with the D tackle, linebacker, corner. But like I said, this is a team that doesn't have a whole lot of needs.
Yeah, I mean, running back is a little bit shaky, but
I could see them going day 2, day 3 to try and grab a
yeah.
running
I
back.
mean, heck, if Harris falls to them, that'd be a good pick. But we said we doubt he's going to with the Steelers in front of him.
Yeah, it depends on if they want to pull the trigger on ETN or just wait on another running back.
Yeah. Now picking at 31, we have the Ravens again. We talked about how they actually just traded with the Chiefs. They got rid of Orlando Brown, a Pro Bowl offensive tackle. The Chiefs basically got rid of both of their tackles and then replaced them with two decent tackles.
Yeah, that's what when I had the Chiefs getting a offensive lineman when I had them actually picking here,
Mm-hmm.
but now since it's the Ravens pick, they end up solving that need. The Ravens, we had at number 27 going Rashad Bateman, got them helping out the defensive side, a couple of free agents that left the team just helping to shore up that great defense they had last season and for the past couple years, and going with another edge rusher off the board, Jason Owe out of Penn State. Like I said, just the edge rushers, it just really depends on which guys end up falling to the number 31 pick. I've
Yeah.
got OA behind those top 3 guys that already went, but I think they're definitely going to get an edge rusher with one of those 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, not much of a difference between Russo, Owe, overall. I guess they're just gonna have to like take whatever's left,
Yeah,
of the first round
like I
talent.
said, really the one thing is that if they think that one of these teams between Green Bay, the Saints, and the Bills, if they think one of them is going to take an edge rusher that's still available, just use that 27 overall pick instead of the 31 to grab an edge rusher, and then hope that one of your wide receivers is available at 31. But having those 2 picks in the back half of the first round really gives them flexibility to grab obviously the 2 positional needs and maybe even package those 2 and try and move up in the first round if they really like a player and really want to go get him in the early 20s or late teens.
Yeah. Moving on, the last pick is the Tampa Bay Bucks, the Super Bowl champs, taking at 32. They are currently slated to stay there, and 32 is an interesting spot because you don't really get a glamorous position. A lot of teams will take a defensive tackle, and that's what we have. It's the best Christian Barmore out of Alabama, the best interior defensive lineman. Just a big guy, good pedigree. Was a veteran. Was just a great leader for Alabama's defense. Kind of to help bolster that. Like I like it what you wrote. You said he can rotate with the veterans on the defensive line. So he's not a guy who's going to come in and expected to be a huge difference maker. We've also there has been some talk though about somehow some way Justin Fields falling to the Buccaneers.
It's kind of like how the Bucks were able to like finagle their cap space where they could get Brady back and all of his buddies that helped him win the
Brady
Super
and his
Bowl last
buddies.
season.
Yeah.
If they can somehow find a way, they'll trade like their 2028 first round draft pick to trade up to number 7 with Detroit, and they end up getting Justin Fields or something like that. So I feel like that's just like a conspiracy theory that's going around just because Tom Brady is somehow involved in the headline.
Yeah.
I see them staying put at 32,
No,
and
not that they trade up, but somehow Fields falls to them.
oh,
Yeah.
that's it. That's even crazier.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's more crazy, them actually finding all the first round picks, giving up first round picks for the next 5 years to trade up to seven, or Justin Fields, something coming out in the headlines about him saying, "Oh, the Justin Fields is a
Something
character
always
problem,"
happens, like tomorrow or Thursday, we'll see some news that goes down about somebody who had some kind of drug or arrest or something.
and be like a Laramie Tunsil with the gas mask thing
Yeah,
again, and
it
end
always
up dropping
happens.
on the
It always
boards.
happens. That's my bold take that something will happen.
I think that's just something to get people to click on an article about it.
Yeah.
But
Here's something that I think is hilarious. The teams without first round picks, we have four of them. Three of them are good. One of them
one of
not
these
so.
teams is not
Not
like
yeah.
the other.
We have the Seahawks that fit. Their first pick is going to be at 56. They gave up
So
a lot of stuff to
I'm
get Adams and all that stuff.
I would say so. There, three of these teams, the three good teams are all picking in a row, so they're all late second
Yeah,
round.
we got the Los Angeles Rams in their draft house. I don't know if you saw that on social media. They rented out a Malibu mansion for their draft. I don't know.
When they don't even have a first round draft
Yeah,
pick.
it's literally they're going to do their draft from the mansion or whatever. That's going to be their base. I think they're trying to one up the Cardinals with Kingsbury's like fancy house that they were showing last year.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that.
and then
So
the team of the NFL, the Chiefs, who don't really need much. They still got their offensive line, even though they lost their guys, picking at 58, so they can have some fun at that pick. And then
the third round
the
pick.
team with the third round pick, who probably is in most need of a first round pick. Like out of anybody, I think them and Detroit are probably the teams that need a first round pick the most, and that is the Texans.
Poor Texans. I
It's like you
mean,
think they could trade with the Falcons, but they don't have any. It's like, are they going to give up their future for?
Deshaun Watson. Did you want him now?
Oh gosh, maybe a few months ago.
But yeah, give up the first. They gave up their first and second round pick for Laramie Tunsil, so that's why their first pick isn't until early on in the third round. But like you said, a team that could use a first round pick, a top five pick more than just about anyone else, especially with all the stuff going on with Deshaun Watson. So
Yeah,
uh,
that's just a situation I do not envy. It's funny, like a lot of teams they don't have the first, but they'll at least have a second. It's
mhm.
like you don't even have they don't
They
even
have neither. So
need.
it's gonna be a very interesting draft for the new guys there in Houston.
Yeah, the new show running it. Before we end, we just want to talk about some guys that are some big name guys still available potentially on day two. Travis Etienne, the second best running back by all accounts.
Hmm.
Landon Dickerson, a great story out of Florida State, joining Alabama, became one of their best offensive linemen. A
Yeah, it
little bit of
could.
injuries
I was gonna
though.
say could see him dropping to the second round just
Yeah.
because of the injury history that he's had.
Jamin Davis, is that how you pronounce it?
I was gonna say Jameen, but
J-
honestly,
Jamin
I didn't look it
Jamin
up.
Davis out
So
of Kentucky, a linebacker, SEC defender. Tyson Campbell and Eric Stokes, both Georgia guys. Followed by Liam Eichenberg, that quintessential Big Ten offensive lineman.
even though he's from Notre Dame, they're
I mean, yeah,
technically the
you know
Big
what I mean.
Ten.
Like the Great Lakes region guy.
Yeah.
Creed Humphrey out of Oklahoma, a guy who I really like. He's been the captain of that offensive line for the
That's
past 2 years.
that's what you got. Three centers slash guards that are available in the second round could go late first round.
Yeah, and
So
these are all guys who were leaders on their teams, and
hmm
that teams are always looking for leaders. Asante Samuel Jr., Florida State cornerback, just a great pedigree, coming from Asante Samuel. If he can go to the Falcons, I would not be upset.
like I said, these are a lot of guys that I've seen in mock drafts where they've actually gone in the first round. That we personally don't have them in our mock draft in the first round, so would be some of the best available guys on day two. Obviously, Javonte Williams, the running back out of North Carolina, is a guy that's been talked about with the Falcons with their early second round pick. So he's another guy that will like 99% chance be available on day two, but just some of the best guys that we didn't have going in the first round that could drop into the second round.
Yes, I will definitely be doing some of those like Falcon drafter machines once I'm done with my
Go through the draft simulator
yeah,
and
go through the
see.
draft simulator, see what big names I can get. There's a lot of guys from LSU from that national championship team that are like in these later rounds. That we don't like Jabril
I would
Cox,
say Jabril Cox
Terrace
is one of
Marshall,
the.
Terrace Marshall. Just those kind of guys who are
What was the name of that?
Oh, the
The
corner. I know. Yeah.
cornerback.
It's on the tip of my tongue. Oh, I gotta look this up now.
Because it's Kari Vincent.
He was Kerry Vincent, but
Yeah.
there's another guy too who's available.
Okay, well that was the guy that I was thinking of because I always pronounce his name wrong, but
Oh, great, Jacoby Stevens.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean, you always have to. There's a couple of diamonds in the rough that you find on day 2 and day 3 that end up working out for you, becoming big time players, Pro Bowl guys. So it's just a matter of finding those pieces. But Stein, I know you and I are both looking forward to the draft on this upcoming for Thursday. Like I said, we'll probably be posting maybe some live reactions, some updates on some of the picks in the draft throughout the day on Thursday on our Instagram page. So be sure to follow us at the Couch Quarterbacks on Instagram. But that's going to do it for our part 2 of the
Yes,
NFL
guys.
mock
Thank you
draft.
for staying with us for part 2. There's no part 3. We wish as much fun as we go through
A
all.
full 7 round
Yeah,
mock
I'm
draft.
sure there are people who do that, but that's not us.
That will take a lot of homework and a lot of time that you and I, because
On a lot of names that we would never hear again. It just wouldn't be worth
I would
it.
say because of our schoolwork, because of jobs and everything like that, just don't have the time to go through and make a full time list on that. That's for the guys who actually make a living and make money off of making these mock drafts and making
Yeah,
these
even
report
I don't even
cards.
think they do that. I don't think they get to like round 6 or 7 and like they predict that.
They're like,
I think the highest one I've seen is a shout out to Walter Football, a great website for mock drafts. They always have mock drafts for like 20. They'll have like mock drafts for 3 years down the road.
the
So
best 2025
they already have
prospects.
the 2025 draft, but I'm pretty sure of all the football mock drafts, this is like the only one that goes to like round like 4 or 5. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen very few that'll go to round 7, and like I said, those are usually more like blog type websites. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching part 1 and part 2 of episode 6, our round 1 mock draft for the NFL draft. Be sure to enjoy the NFL draft Thursday night, and thank you guys for tuning
Merry
in.
Christmas, guys. It's Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas in April.
Yeah.
This has been the Couch Quarterbacks podcast, and we will see you guys in the next episode.
See you.